alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
It's on both sides, sir. You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me. They didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You. Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? We haven't seen anything like this in 100 and some odd years. 1917. You read about 1917. But in 1917, certainly not since 1917. There's been nothing like this since 1917. Who would have thought? 1917. It was the Spanish flu. 1917. There's been nothing like this since probably 1917. Not since 1917 has there been anything like this. Like nobody's seen since 1917. 1917, they went through something that was similar. 1917 was the last time. You go back over 100 years, 1917. You all know what happened in 1917. That's over 100 years ago. You look at 1917, the pandemic. It was something. The worst pandemic since 1917. 1917. That's something. 1917 was a time. In 1917, it was vicious. Everybody that writes a book about the Spanish flu, 1917. You know, the big one was 1917. You read about him. You read about him from 1917. A virus, the likes of which this world has not seen since 1917. The worst event of its kind since 1917 is the worst since 1917. 1917. It's a long time ago. So in 1917, we had a horrible, in that case, it was a flu. Right? You remember, right? 1917. This is the worst thing that's happened since probably 1917. Since 1917, many, many years ago. Not since 1917. Came to that conclusion. Even if you go back into 1917, but 1917. Now, in 1917, had they had the internet and all the means of communication, they could have practiced distancing. I've read about the Spanish flu. That was 1917. That's a long time ago. 1917, they went through something that was similar. 1917 was the last time. You go back over 100 years, 1917.
Have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland.
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it? Well, go ahead, sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down. Anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol. So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I want to thank you all. We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. And I'll be there with you.